Should we all stand, please? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Josh coming for oath of office?
I was told he was.
Yeah, so do I. Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Motion by Gary, second by Joe.
Can you slide that down?
Discussion?
Thank you. I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Public comment? Thank you, public. Okay.
Prior to consent, could we please pull C2 and act on that separately?
Okay. So, do we have a motion on the consent items with the change of putting C2?
Motion.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Ron. Discussion?
Can I ask a question on a consent item? They're both for boys. How many boys are out for basketball? I was just curious for C2. Must be quite a few if we've got a coach and an assistant coach.
It means that there's over 14, or over 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
Once they get to 16, then they have the option. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So Joe made that motion and who?
Ron seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay, you wanted to go on the C2, Fran?
When this gets approved, I would like it approved contingent on payment. This is a teacher that just submitted a letter of resignation and wants to be released from her contract January 23rd. She feels that she can no longer give her best to both MNVA and to her family, and would rather be she's got an opportunity to be a tutor and a music tutor, and would rather pursue that. She thanked the school for providing the opportunities that we did. She has resigned prior to this and then came back because we could not find anyone to teach German or the math that she teaches. She's got double certification. But as a board, if you approve the resignation, according to contract, her resignation will not be granted unless she has the payment for late resignation. So that's why, as a board, you have to decide first if you're going to accept this resignation. And then if you are going to accept it, to be in line with the contract, you need to accept it contingent on the payment of the late resignation fee, which is $500.
If there is a problem filling this sort of licensure in the past, what is the likelihood at this time of the year for a month notice that you're going to be able to fill it?
Finding a German teacher?
Well, I'm assuming that's,
To find a German teacher, would it be about the same as trying to find someone certified to teach chemistry or physics? I don't know how we're going to do it.
and so what will the consequence be if we are unable to find
Certified.
somebody to finish out the term or the year? Does the class run year long, or does it end at the semester?
They are semester classes, however, it's part 1, part 2. And so it's German, German 1, A and B. B is second semester. You have to have German 1B before you can have German 2A. They're all foundational, and because that's how you learn language. So if we couldn't offer German second semester, then those students who were enrolled or want to enroll in the B section of the German class would not be able to have it. And there, you can't bump them into another foreign language of a B because we don't offer the A section second semester.
How many students are enrolled in your upcoming classes?
I know she's at a .75 contract right now, so she's got about 120 students, some math, some German. I think about 70 German students.
And when does the semester end?
January 23rd.
Okay.
So if we don't accept the resignation, what happens?
What?
If we don't accept, what's the options? I mean, we don't have a contingency plan to have somebody take over that class.
Has anybody talked with her? I mean, is it possible for her to keep doing German and just not do the math?
No, she wants to be done with it all. Because that's how we got her back in the first place. We said, well, you'll just teach German. And she just,
I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
offered to her, because that would be a compromise.
and Angela did reach out and talk to her, and she just wants to be,
Done.
yeah.
Have you ever done something like this in the past?
Well, we've done
Mid-year,
this
yes,
often.
you,
What'd you say?
We've done this fairly often.
Yeah. Seth Dale. Seth Dale. His resignation was accepted in January of, was it last year or the year before? And
Oh, we've
so,
done it before.
Yeah, we've done it.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, the issue gets to be, obviously have an employee who is not feeling satisfied in their work role.
Right.
So how effective are they going to be? On the other hand, you
Absolutely.
have a
Right.
number of students that you're trying to serve, and it's going to be difficult.
Have you
To
put
find a
out
qualified
an
person.
ad yet for any replacement?
I got this today,
Oh.
and we put an ad in the Star Trib instantly.
Wow.
Because I needed to see if there was anything out there. The only thing that we have going for us is that if we've got the December grads that have recently gotten their teaching license and might be looking for,
Is there
A
another
second
school maybe that we could piggyback on?
with German.
I'm just, I mean, I'm sure there's other schools that may
Right.
have somebody that does it.
And I can reach
Just
out to,
curious. To help the students along, maybe, I don't know.
Mhm.
What is Angela's recommendation or wishes and yours? Are they the same on this? Or do you have a recommendation? Or does Angela, do you know?
Angela just said it's the same way I feel. You don't want someone forced to teach when they don't want to. That's not good for kids.
Do we post job openings at colleges and universities?
Yes.
Of education schools? So it's
Yes.
not just Star Tribune,
Oh,
but they
no,
go directly to
it's on,
those schools?
it's on EdPost too, and EdPost
Okay.
is given to all the, EdPost is through St. Cloud, if I remember correctly. So
And that reaches,
all the state schools and the other, if you're in an education program, you know to go to EdPost.
Do we have
These
any
type of-
other teachers on a part-time status who are qualified to take the math and
I'm trying to remember who we have part-time now.
I mean, there must be some school out there with a German teacher that doesn't have a full-time job that
And-
you could share with or something.
And that's something that we'll need to look into.
So your recommendation, yours and Angela's recommendation is to approve it with the
Yes.
contingency on the
Payment.
payment.
Mhm.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? We have a
I'll make
motion?
a motion to accept the resignation of Rebecca Jorgensen contingent on paying the penalty.
Okay. I have a motion by Michaeline. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. Further discussion? Okay. Keep us posted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion items, policy committee update.
The policy committee met for an hour prior to tonight's board meeting. We've met several times before this with the purpose of coming up with a policy for those people that have requested to name a building or part of the facility after someone else. We've been doing a great deal of research. And what we have found is that we probably want to split it into at least two policies. One on memorials, that would be both living and non-living memorials. Living memorials would be like planting a tree or a garden. Non-living memorials are benches, plaques, whatnot. And then the other would be a naming rights policy. And what we have found is that we have naming in consideration, which means that they have given a great deal of money toward the school district. And so for that consideration, we will name part of the facility after them, or if where the money is being used to build something new, we would be using that, the contribution to build that new facility, then their name would be in consideration. And then the other part is naming and recognition. That's the one where Crystal Sabota, as our school counselor, was kind enough to give us some information for tonight's meeting, because this has been a topic of a lot of the counselor listservs. And there isn't really one clear answer, other than the one thing that does come to play in most of those other schools' policies and procedures that we're finding is that there's a waiting period. We're finding 2 to 3 years seems to be after someone dies. They have to wait 2 to 3 years before anything is named for that person. And so in the meantime, we would like to say it's taking time, and we're doing a great deal of research looking to make sure that the policy we have is the best policy for us, not a policy for one situation or one incident, but it's a policy that we're going to be able to live with, and people are going to be able to accept and approve of going forward. So in the meantime, if someone has something that they would like to do, we would also like to tell them they can support the scholarships. If they want to remember someone, we've got a number of scholarships named for people that are run through the Hurricane Foundation, and they can definitely show their support there right now as we are trying to get this policy written. And the other thing that we want everybody aware of is that we are keeping a list of requests. There was one request publicly at this board meeting, and after that request, other people have come forward asking about this person or that person, and this part of the facility and that part of the facility. So we are keeping that list, but we also know that we need to make sure that we are looking at every side of the issue. I'll be reaching out to Minnesota School Board Association, and even if they don't have a model policy, to see what help they can do as far as directing us to other model policies. We have found several model policies from many different school districts, and we're looking at all of those as well. So we've got a draft policy that we keep changing and looking at, and it's color-coded with all the different schools that we've looked at as far as we like this part of this one, this part of this one, and then once we actually get that done, it will need to go through legal as well. However, this is a big decision. And I guess I also brought it to the board because you are also getting phone calls.
Mhm.
So when do you have a kind of a target date and when you'd have it done?
Before we can get it done, you have to understand that the one that it's causing, the one for which we've seen the widest spectrum in the different policies are the naming rights in recognition. And that means that no one's giving money, but someone has done something of note for the school or for the district. And the policies we've got there, the model policy we have there is everything from we name nothing for recognition to we will name some things for recognition only if they have done something beyond the district, like a Heisman Trophy winner, or they are a Nobel Prize winner. So there's that type. Or then there's if somebody has done something and they'll have a committee look at it. So there's this huge gamut for recognition, and we were talking about it and we were saying, well, some of these seem really cold and we don't want to seem cold and uncaring, but we all also know that we have to be and deal with things in an incredibly objective way, because when you're talking about naming something after someone, there's a lot of emotions there on both sides.
But, I mean, so do you have a date on?
But I think with all of the schools that have a policy have a waiting period before the board would actually act on it. For us to develop the policy is going to take several months.
Yes.
I think it's going to be several months.
So even if we develop it in several months, say in May, just throwing out a date, not saying that's when it's gonna happen, then what you're saying is the standard policy has got a 2-year waiting list, wait after, 2 to 3 years after someone may have passed away,
Right.
before that comes into play.
That's
right.
So even if we come up with a policy sometime in the next 12 months, it could be another year to 2 years after that before it's gone through its procedure or timeline, before it would come up to the board.
Well, that's what we're looking at.
Is that
Yeah.
what you guys are discussing?
That seems to be the
But
one
at
thing
the
we
same
have a little
time,
consensus on.
but if somebody wanted to do something different, like you had mentioned a bench or something like that,
No.
that would
No,
be different, or is
well,
that still on the
No,
same?
scholarships are.
Or
scholarships are
Scholarships
right
are
away.
in place.
The
yes.
memorial is another policy, and we've got
So-
that one, the memorial policy,
Is even,
that one,
So would
when
we-
Crystal gave us that stuff, right now, a lot
Okay.
of schools are just looking at saying no.
So do we need a motion right now to say we got a 2-year waiting period on?
No,
We don't
because
have anything
we're
to go
not
off right now.
we're not far enough yet but we
That would be
we-
part of a policy.
I got that, but
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 2 years to say we gotta wait another 2 years.
How does the board feel about a 2 to 3 year waiting period? I mean, we don't have to make a motion, we don't have to
No,
vote
but
on
it would be nice to, because the board will need to approve this policy,
Mhm.
and we need to know we're going at least in a direction where we will have board consensus on what we are putting together, because we basically know what we're putting together is going to be unique to Houston. And so we need to know that if we're going to go to the time and the expense, there will be expense because it will need to go through legal, that what we bring here will have the support of the board.
Well, personally, I'm not opposed to the timeline. I mean, if that's standard, basically in most school districts, if it's a 2-year wait, 2 to 3 years,
Was at least a 1 year, and in many of them, it was 2 or 3 years.
I mean, I'm okay with the 1 year, I don't know what the 2 year gets you.
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
there's a lot of,
something.
because it's just,
The ones that I saw that had the waiting time period had 3.
I mean, why?
there are people that have objections, but in the aftermath of an emotional event, they are not,
I get that, that's why, I mean, what's a year versus 2 years versus 3?
well, a year isn't very much time.
365 days.
A year flies. But then it's also with the consensus of, do you want to be the district that says no to names, or do you want to be the district that, where on that spectrum do you see us living? That's the other thing, because it's a wide spectrum. And what we're seeing in policies, everything from nothing is named after someone else to we've got an entire litany of things, and any of these things are up for a plaque, up for a name, up for recognition, and will stay there for a certain time period, and then they can, there's one policy where every 5 years it can be named after somebody else.
Is there, can we somehow incorporate this into our strategic planning session that we're gonna have? Because you're right, I mean, what do we feel? How should, I mean, it's part of our culture here. And if somebody gives their entire life to Houston, I think we wanna recognize that, but it might not be a name on a building, or it might be something else, but it's part of, and I also feel like, you know, yes, we need to talk about this, but this isn't the main reason we're here either. I mean, we need to get our strategic plan done, and maybe this can fit into that as well. But if we're spending all of our time working on this and we're not focused on the strategy for our school, we're a little messed up. And then people will start calling us about that.
Well, I think you're working, going the right direction, you know. I think when it comes to timeline, we may further discuss it, maybe in a strategy meeting or another meeting, but people think about it. I don't think we need to make a decision tonight. But I think you're going in the right direction, you're getting compiling some other schools, what they're doing. You know, it's gonna take some time.
We've gone from what, we've had 3 meetings,
Yeah.
I've been at 2 of them, but we've gone from trying to have an umbrella policy that covered it all, to now sorting out how do we separate, what are the issues, and how can we separate these issues for different conditions rather than trying to have them all in, and that's where we are today. Now, maybe next month, we'll say, let's try to get it all in one policy, or not have any policy for this and develop this one. I mean, it's taking a lot of research and time and thinking, and in the meantime, people are getting calls, Corinne's getting people talking to you on issues that we haven't thought about, even in committee. But they're aware of the conversations going on, so that is giving time for more
And
voices to
Is
come.
the
And the
basketball-
reason I didn't bring those other conversations to the committee is I want the committee just looking at the policy. I don't want them thinking about this issue or that issue. I want the policy to be a policy that can fit any situation.
Is the basketball court over there named or anything? Over by the elementary school?
We talked about that, and everything that currently has a name would be grandfathered in. And we
So
do
it
have
does got a
something.
name?
It's the old Anscombe.
Owen Onsgard Community Court.
Who gave it, I mean, did we vote on that as a board?
That was gifted to us,
It was handed over to us that way, and the board did approve that this committee got to do as they saw fit with that. So, and that's the other thing, we need to make sure, do I have Am I saying anything against having the Owen Oscar Community Court? Absolutely not. Would it have been better had we had this policy in place before that, so the board could have had some direction? Yes. It's always nice to have the policy in place so the board can have some direction. Because right now, we're dealing with it after the fact. I like that court. I like the fact that Owen worked on it. And once again, I'm not able to be really objective because Owen was a good friend. And I will be the first one to say I'm biased. But we
there
also
are
have other things.
maintenance issues with them.
There's maintenance issues, there's the locking issue, we've got a bench, we've got Kelsey's Kingdom, we've got a bench put there by the class of 65 in Kelsey's Kingdom. So we've got some things already that will be grandfathered in, but it's always that we had a tree planted for Sharon Onsgaard, the tree died, and so people are still wondering when we're going to replant that. We had a tree planted for Delbert Smith, it died, people are wondering when we're going to replant that. It's not as
I
simple
guess-
as just putting a name on something.
Well, so the people that are contacting, what are you telling them for communication?
The policy committee is working on developing a policy to address naming rights. And in the meantime, if you really feel strongly about recognizing this person, the Hurricane Foundation is always looking for donations for scholarships.
Because that was, one was a guy here 30 days ago.
Mhm.
And we've met twice since then. So it's not like we're not doing anything. We're every time we're meeting, we've got more of the research done. Unfortunately, every time we get more research, we're finding even a wider spectrum of policies.
Has anybody talked to them or him lately?
Which, the one that was here or the one that's been
Has
calling
any-
Ron?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so you've been kind of keeping all up to date what's
Yep.
happening? Okay.
He understands it's going to take some time.
Okay.
He was very understanding about it.
Okay.
The
I
one,
just want to make sure he's getting,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, not left.
And I told him I'd kind of keep him updated.
Okay.
the one thing
What's
is,
that
if you keep looking, you're gonna keep finding, I'm not a big fan to look to other schools for what's best for us. I think if we sit back and look at things, we can determine what's best for us. I mean, we're a small school, and there's some really cool things we can do in a small school that they can't do in bigger metro
Well,
schools.
these aren't all big metro
I'm just
schools we're looking
saying,
at.
we could spend hours and hours and hours, and we're always gonna find new policies, but at the end of the day, what do we, as a board and as a school, want? And that needs to guide, not what Rushford or Caledonia or whoever is doing, but we need to guide what we want to see happen.
What do you think about a waiting period, though?
I haven't been to any of the meetings, so I don't know that I have a whole lot of thought. I mean, I think I understand, it's not something I've ever thought of before it was just mentioned. I see how being reflective would be valuable. I think 3 years seems like a long time. Actually, what ran through my mind was, what's the waiting period for a saint in the Catholic Church? Not Catholic. It sounded
A lot
very
longer than
similar.
that.
Yeah, is it 7 years or so? I don't know what it is, but
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
talking about
kind of
saints
weird.
either.
It's kind of weird a little bit, but I understand the point of it. But 3 years seems a bit long. I mean, but I understand you don't want to rush into anything either.
I agree too. And I think we got the right people on the policy committee that'll make the right decision. So I guess I thank you for your update.
Well, I just don't think that we want you to think of this as being done for one particular person. We're trying to do
Right.
this
For the ones-
ongoing.
Right.
And it's something that you have an incident and then the thing comes up. Otherwise, it might not have been addressed again
Right.
for a long time. But
Correct.
now we're addressing it and we're putting the effort into it, and when we get some kind of a rough draft so that you can see the points that we're making, then
In hindsight, it's
you can all
2020.
take a look at
You know,
it.
Hindsight 2020, probably should have done this when Ansgard came in, and we should have, yeah, I get it now, so. yeah.
But it's also as far as looking at other schools. Some other schools are putting these in places, putting these types of policies in place because they have been burned. So I would much rather look at what someone else has had to do because of their incidents instead of blundering on our own.
Well,
So-
I mean, as long as the people that are in questioning about it are getting answers and they're
Yeah,
fine,
they are.
that to me is the most important thing. As long as there's communication, like Joe said, I think you guys are doing a good job on it. Do your research, don't go, again, think of like Mimi said, it's a small community. We can do stuff maybe other people can't do. And if you're addressing, somebody calls you, say, hey, I'd like to do this, say, well, that's part of our policy, we're working on that, but you could also do a scholarship type thing, or something in another way for now, while we work on this, Because to me, that's a nice gesture too, so.
And we're not gonna work on it forever, we don't like it that much.
No.
No, we want to keep
No,
moving.
you guys
it.
are-
You just
Yeah.
need to
No, I
get
think
so
it's
far,
good,
and then you
so
need to think
thanks for
about
the
it a little
update.
bit.
Yeah.
and-
Okay, well, let's move on. All business, items for discussion and approval. Levy certification, 2016 payable 2017.
Finance Committee met last night. And,
Recommendation that we talked about last night was keeping it where it's at, flat, not changing it.
0.59.
0.59. We talked to Gwen, I think, maybe you can speak, Joe, you were there. Not making any changes this time. We discussed it, and we feel that's the financially wise thing to do, I guess, what you want to call it. Mimi, you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at raising it even just slightly, and it didn't really bring in that much more money, honestly. So at the end of the day, it just seemed like keeping it steady was the way to go. So
So
for
it
the
feels-
percentage increase,
no.
it wasn't that much, so.
Correct, right, like Mimi said, we looked at, even if you go a little bit, it's only a few $1,000s. I know that's a lot of money, but what's it gonna get us?
So which scenario are you?
We're looking at scenario
it's a LOR at 67.
67% LOR, yeah. So it's basically, there would not be an increase as far as school taxes, correct?
Correct.
On homes.
And it's important to note too that it looks like, there's more revenue coming in the district, but because of other things that are happening, it's actually not going to end up being more, it's going to be just about, assuming we get some additional funding from the state, which we're anticipating will be about break even. So there's some enrollment numbers that are down slightly, and then inflation and raises and things like that, and they pretty much eat up that extra. They do eat up that extra
Extra
money.
funding, yeah.
And then some.
Yes.
Right. So, that was a recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Well, I would move we accept the recommendation of the finance committee and go with the LOR at 67%.
No. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thought that was the
Is there a
other.
motion?
Second.
Second by Gary. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Preschool lot merge.
This is what I brought up last time. No matter what we do on that lot, if we're going to build anything, we really need to merge the lot on the corner with the lot on which the house sat. So it's just one lot. And there's no fee with that, so.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
So I asked some wise real estate people, and they said the only scenario they could think of off the top of their head was that if you were ever to sell the lot, then you would have an issue.
if we were gonna sell the lot, then we would have to pay to have it
Separated if we want to do
reset,
that.
you know, to have it back to 2 lots again. Are we planning on selling?
No.
I'm
No.
just saying, I mean, I'm trying to look at, because we're acting pretty quick on it and we really don't need to. So I was just doing research to
If
see
we're,
what the downside was.
I think the question came up as far as if we build, that's if we do some construction work there, that's where we would have to do easements, because I believe that even if we put in, again, I may be wrong, but if we put in a garage, because the lot line is here and here, we still have to follow the easement requirements, even though you own both lots.
and if we put in the garage, it has
So-
nothing to do with the easement. The building code for the city of Houston, you can't put a garage as a single structure on a lot. You have to have a house on the lot or another building on that lot in order to build a garage. And so that's the other thing, we couldn't, if we plan on doing the garage there, we can't do it unless the 2 lots are merged.
That settles it.
Was that, Gwen had a comment, was that your comment?
How does the grant fit into that too? Because we purchased that in order to get the grant.
The grant is about the green space and having the extra, it's the extra room, so it's the extra room by the side of the church. And so it's, we are, since we still have that lot, we still have that extra space by it, because they wanted to make sure that the preschool wasn't abutting right next to somebody else's property. So by having the 2 lots merged, we're not infringing on that grant at all, because we still have the space between the preschool building and the next actual residence.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Excuse me, could I have the motion and the second again? Was it Gary and Joe?
Gary and Ron.
Gary and Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, MNVA, National Honor Society Chapter.
The last meeting, I was asked to look into different schools. Rochester has 3 schools, 2 with National Honor Society chapters, 1 that's just a school chapter. And each one has their own bylaws, and the one thing that's consistent is the grade point average. John Marshall somewhat follows the National Honor Society guidelines and the Minnesota Honor Society guidelines, but in no place in any of their stuff do they reference either the Minnesota or the National Honor Society. For both Century and for Mayo, it's the National Honor Society, and the little insignia for the National Honor Society is with both of theirs. So that's one where they've got different things going on, but every school has an honor society. They've got a different committee and different bylaws that govern it. So that's, how does that work? Every school does their own thing, even though it's all out of Rochester. In talking, Angela feels very strongly that she would like to be affiliated with the National Honor Society if she still needs to be affiliated with Minnesota Honor Society, because that's for consistency with Houston High School. She's fine with that. And Todd feels just as strongly that he doesn't feel the National Honor Society is an affiliation for which he wants any of his budget dollars expended.
What's the reason?
The National Honor Society is more expensive, and that's just basically going to the National Principals Association. And he knows that if the kids are involved in the Minnesota Honor Society, they've got a camp option here. They're more likely to be approved for the Minnesota Honor Society scholarship, the National Honor Society scholarship.
So wouldn't we be putting our dollars, if we go to the MNBA, we'd be giving it to the, just like Todd said, right?
Yep, except Angela feels that at MNVA, it's a marketing thing. If you don't have the National Honor Society affiliation, she's thinking that there'd be some kids that would not come because they couldn't be members of National Honor Society.
Well,
And
this
that's
isn't
good.
just from her, this is from parents
Right.
raising the
Yeah, it was-
concern as well.
Right.
So-
Yes, so
exactly.
she's raising the concern of the parents. She's
I
heard, so
hear-
she's basing this not on just her opinion, she's basing this on what she's
I hear,
heard from
I hear
parents.
Todd, but when I think of National Honor Society, I think of the big show, you know, not just the Minnesota.
I mean, and it, you know, I wish he was here to talk about it, because he was pretty, when he brought it to our attention last time he was here, he discussed it, and he gave us some reasons behind it. I don't disagree with Joe that, you know, the National Honor Society is, if you rank them, I think it might have been Ron saying it, or even Kevin, you know, that you say National Honor Society, it seems a little more weight behind it, as opposed to Minnesota.
And then my other thing is consistency. I think Mimi brought up, or Ron, that, you know, here we're trying to maintain consistency with the schools, and yet we have two different things, you know.
So
Michaeline?
how many kids have gone to the camp? Have we had students go to this camp? That the Minnesota Honor Society
Offers.
Leadership Camp offers? Like, I mean, that's been a selling point, like a perk,
Mhm.
so,
How many people
How
have
many-
utilized
We
it?
just
I mean-
joined, I haven't had a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
okay.
It would be
So
this
I don't know
summer,
how
I would
that even
assume.
gets communicated out.
No, I don't know.
The Crystal is the advisor of the Honor Society. And so she would be communicating all of that out to the students. But this is,
I mean, I think we're a small enough district, I think we should, I'd prefer that we be uniform, that's my, I'd like it uniform, but I also understand, like you're saying in Rochester, that different schools do different things, so I could go National Honor Society for MNBA and stay with Minnesota Honor Society locally. I just prefer to be consistent, but I'm.
Nobody local's ever complained about that?
Hmm?
No local parents have,
Well, not till it's been raised as a question.
Yeah,
What, I mean, I heard,
until they've heard it on TV.
yeah.
right. Mimi, your thoughts?
I don't care. I mean, I think
Oh.
we have to switch for MNBA, just because I would hate to lose a student
Mhm.
because of it. But do I care if my son is in one or the other? No. I don't think it's gonna make a difference at the end of the day.
Ron?
I'm fine with going dualies here.
Julie's? Joe?
Don't matter.
Ron? Jerry?
Definitely national for MNBA and local. We will.
What are the criteria, grade point average, that sort of thing? Are they comparable? Are they consistent?
exactly the same.
And if
The
we decide
bylaws are
on-
pretty much the same?
I mean, two things I'd like to see is, one, if we go this way, where we have the grade local school, Minnesota National Honor Society, MNBA do the other, and I'd like to find out more about this perk.
Yes,
What is a
definitely.
perk? How many kids are taking advantage of it? You know, that type of information.
Also,
Because like I said, Todd, we asked him, last time I thought the discussion was where he was gonna be here, so he could bring up some information on this, as far as, because he seemed like he had some research, like other schools are doing this, and this is one of the perks, and he may be able to address how many kids from other schools, now that they're doing this, are utilizing that. What was the advantage of it? What did they learn from this camp? If that is the main reason, other than financially, I mean, yeah, there's a financial cost difference, but it wasn't like one was 100,000 and one was $20, you know,
Right.
that type of thing.
Maybe we could get the information from Crystal too on the camp, I'm curious.
Sure.
I mean, if the camp is $3,000 or $4,000, obviously, who cares? I mean, if it's an affordable camp and
Mhm.
we actually will have kids that might attend,
And what do
it'd
they
be
get out of
interesting
it?
to see what is on the agenda and
Mhm. And those things, like I said, if, you know, we would have more information on that, I think we could make a better.
And the research Todd did was with not only other principals, but also with college admissions counselors.
Yeah.
Saying that it was not a make it or break it
Right.
as far as the Honor Society.
It wouldn't hurt, I mean, we've, through World's Best Workforce, decided that we need to survey our stakeholders more aggressively, and a question of this nature, since the action that we would be taking tonight would be moving MNVA back to National Honor Society. We're not, there'd be no change locally, because we're already Minnesota, right? So, but to get some parent input, feedback, maybe from both schools, and hear more voices other than those that had the, oomph to pick up the phone and mention it.
Okay.
So, did we say we had a
So I want a
motion?
motion to have MNBA be a part of the National Honor Society chapter.
Okay, you have a motion from Ron. Second?
Second.
Second from Jerry. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. New member orientation.
Okay, there's the packet is in here, and it's the packet to which Michaeline referenced at the last board meeting. You can find this on the MSBA website. But you'll notice that with this orientation to help out our new board member, there's a mentor listed. And so it's one where for us to really do the orientation the way MSBA feels we should, we need to have, we've got the new board member, that's the red column. We've got the superintendent, Oprah, the board administrative assistant, we've got the navy, but we need the green. So do we have somebody that would like to be green?
I can do it. It's fine. I mean, it's chair, it's fine.
Sounds great.
I'll look up with him and I'll have him out the farm doing some chores. A little bit of fencing and shovel.
This is a win-win.
So Tom, we can just go through and I'll make sure that you have everything that you need,
Yeah.
okay? That's,
Okay. That it on that one? Policies for second reading.
the conflict of interest, the fourth degree relative. Now, number one, the conflict of interest just talks about hiring teachers. So it doesn't talk about hiring any other position other than teachers. But a fourth degree is if you have to go back to the relative you have in common. So if you are your first cousin, you go back to your parent. So there's 1, 2 steps. And then you go back to that grandparent, 1, 2. That's a fourth degree. So for every little step is a degree. So if you think about building that, so your children are a first degree, your parent is a first degree, your grandparent would then be a second degree.
So is that like a removal?
Yes.
A degree is like a removal?
A degree is a removal.
Okay.
Gwen and I were
So,
both looking
we-
at it online, and I said that can't be what it is, so then I did the research,
Second
and Gwen
cousin
was.
is twice
So is there any
removed.
concerns that we may have on
No,
conflict? Okay.
I was,
I know there's no
Unless you want
question.
to, if somebody is here and we've got, someone applies to be a teacher, we need to have the entire board present
Mhm.
when that first cousin gets hired, and that board member can recuse himself or herself from the voting, but they need to stay at the table because we need to have,
Complete.
we need to have all the board members present.
thank you for looking that up. That's really crazy.
You know, I'm finding so many things.
Couldn't take much.
I make a
Okay,
motion
so-
to approve policy 204, 209, 210, and 214.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ron. I knew this coming. Second by Ron. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New items for discussion and approval. Resolution to amend the health reimbursement arrangement.
Okay, this just came up. It's with the new ACA laws, and it deals with the health reimbursement that's with our HRA accounts. This doesn't have anything to do with the Flex account. This is only for those people who are taking insurance with us, not the ones who take the stipend instead and then Flex because they have other insurance. So for those with an HRA, we opted to let the employer, or the employee with single coverage fill out a form attesting to the fact that their legal dependents have other group insurance, and then they can use their HRA for dependents. And so that is a major change. So we've got this resolution to make sure that we're following the ACA laws as they are written, as they will go into effect January 1st, 2017. We have talked to the teachers union, and I've talked to the principals group already. I still need to talk to Local 70. There are a few there that take the single coverage, but I'm not sure if any of them use their HRA for any of their dependents who are covered under another policy.
So we're gonna have to do some changes on the contracts, or we just?
There will be some, yeah, there will be some language changes that will need to come into play in the next round of negotiations.
And who developed this resolution?
EBC, that's our health reimbursement administrator. Mary Hardy did a training for Marcia and for me.
So we're not
It
gonna
was
do anything with
riveting.
this until you contact the Local 70 and then we'll.
No, we need to approve it, so it's it's in place before January 1. This
Okay.
has to be in place
Okay.
January
I just-
1.
Yeah, you had mentioned Local 70, I didn't know
Yep.
if we had that. Okay, so we do have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Gary,
Second.
second by Ron. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, acceptance and oath of office.
Okay.
Somebody can take a picture?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I don't have my phone.
I'll take it,
I
Okay.
think there's numerous phones here.
but you gotta stand up and read it, it's fun.
yeah.
All right,
In front of the camera?
more than willing.
We'll do the ones that would be elected.
And
Here's
They already did.
Oh, that's right.
so you know, if you could go over,
Notarize it when you're done, she'll help you sign it.
Where is he gonna
Go
go?
in front of the
you
green
could
screen
stand,
over
you
here.
could stand in front of the table,
Front of the table.
because if you look up, there's two mics, and then the little blue light between them is the camera.
Don't squint.
Hand on the heart, all right?
No.
I hereby accept the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 294 for a term beginning the first Monday in January of 2017 and expiring the first Monday in January of 2021.
Did you know you were signing up for that
It's
like this?
amazing how fast time flies.
Yeah. Okay, and then read the bottom section.
The oath of office. I swear, affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 294 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you.
You get a shake. We got a picture.
Perfect.
That's where the buck.
Okay.
So,
She'll sign it.
all right.
Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really am.
Okay, announcements, important events,
Okay.
MSBA Leadership Conference. Everybody knows who's going.
Right now, we've got Mike Lean, Ron, Mimi.
Are we going up together, or?
We drive up that morning on the
Yeah.
12th.
That's what we planned, right?
We'll have another meeting before then,
Yep,
right, so we can,
Oh, okay.
yep,
Finalize.
we will.
or are you gonna be here, or you're not gone?
No, I never go any place.
We can, they said in the 70s, we can colloca with a friend.
For you, updated email address and all that.
Okay, so that's about all on that.
Yep.
Okay, meeting and committee updates. You already talked about policy.
Next week, yeah.
You talked about finance. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
Where they were only
Nothing?
How has,
Thursday, but that following week.
oh, never mind.
The second.
Has negotiations committee met, or when are you meeting, or what's happening with that?
You mentioned it last night at the finance committee, and she's waiting on some
The,
feedback, correct?
the Houston chapter of the River Valley Association, Education Association, will probably give us a letter in April stating that they have an intent to begin negotiations. They can't do anything before April. So,
Yeah, it's not like.
So we should look at having some time available April, May,
correct.
June, so we can try to get, and you're gonna try to get any changes that we need to be aware of together ahead of time?
You bet.
So if the negotiation team, as it comes about, maybe have a chance to meet can we meet before we get the letter, just to kind of talk, or no?
We should not.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Well, we didn't really get a chance to officially thank Kevin for his
That's-
hours of service.
Yes.
Hours?
Hours?
Years.
Years of service, it's too bad.
And I would like to publicly thank him for the work he's done, not only on our board, but as the representative to the Hiawatha Valley Ed Board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He has,
He's done a phenomenal job.
he has done a fantastic job on serving on both boards. So I,
If he was here, we thank him personally.
yes,
I was gonna have coffee and cookies and sardines, but he's not here.
Not here, so what'd you do, eat them all before you got here?
I did.
Perfect.
Still burping.
Yeah, I was wondering, glad you're over there.
okay.
Okay.
Future agenda items, the student, it keeps getting brought up about the student,
Mhm.
and what, as a board, do you really want that student to do? In what capacity do you want that student to serve? Is that student, because in some cases, it's a student that comes and does a report on what's happening in the school and then doesn't have any real interaction as far as the other things on the board. There are other school boards that have the student rep, where the student rep is there at every meeting and gets a packet ahead of time and goes through the board discussion items with superintendent or the board chair ahead of time, and then finds out and does do some weighing in on some of those topics during the board discussion, and really serves as a student voice on the board. Where do you see this, what do you want this person to do? Because I know right now there's two students, and there's, one said they were both too busy, and then the other one said he's not too busy, he just hasn't been asked. And so, but it's the case of, okay, so if the student comes, in what capacity is that student going to serve?
What was the procedure when Kevin Beckman was on the board? I feel like it was Jacqueline Mathers and Todd who had nominated him or brought him up, but I assume there was a process in place. I'm not sure that we knew what it was.
Some guidelines.
Kevin sat in the meetings and,
Yeah.
he didn't really speak to the things.
He didn't get any of the
He got a-
information.
He got a report. He didn't get any of the.
He didn't get any of the information ahead of time. He did a report to the board on what was going on in school, and he got the agenda when he got to the board meeting, and so if he was ever asked, he really wasn't prepared. He would have answered, he was knowledgeable of what was going on, he's a great kid. He's going to be a phenomenal journalist. Once again, I'm biased. But
Well, would the student rep have access to the online board packets?
Is that the capacity in which you want the student to serve?
Well, those board packets are public.
Yeah.
Public information is not like it
It's
can't.
not like
shouldn't.
there's anything.
No.
But is that what you want the student to do? Do you want the student to be able to weigh in on topics as you're discussing them? Or did you want it to be more like what Kevin did with a report once a month?
I like his report once a month, but, I mean, not to say that if we don't have a topic that interests him, that he wouldn't bring up his ideas or comments. Man,
Yeah, I would assume a student
Yeah.
board member is a student voice at
Yeah.
a full board meeting. So, I mean, none of us speaks on every topic on here. I would think that under discussion items, there could be what's happening with student council or
Yeah,
that.
things
It
that
could
are
be a
coming
small
up or
thing, you
questions
know,
or
and then the rest of
concerns.
it, he would participate as any other board member would.
It depends a lot on finding somebody who wants to do that too.
And has the time to do it?
Mhm.
they seem like they're intimidated a lot of times when they come here. You know, the Beckman boy did seem that way, but I could see how it
You're
could.
kind of scary, Joe.
What'd you say?
You're kind of scary.
So you're scared.
I think it would be helpful to reach out a little bit to the student member and to, you know, whether it's you or Tom or a mentor on the board, to be, you know, somebody who says, here's what we're going over, and give a little bit of appropriate background without.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's,
absolutely.
if you want the student to participate in that way, I would definitely reach out to the student before the board meeting so that that student had the information and could get the preparation necessary, because I don't want anyone blindsided. That's,
I think it'd be a great idea. I still, you know, I feel like, as we've always said, it'd be nice to have a student participate, even in any capacity, you know, so we get that voice here at the board.
but you're,
And knowing this, I think would be great. I mean, obviously, you know, when we kind of know a lot of this stuff because we're always working with it every couple weeks, where that person may take a little bit of time to get up to speed. But yeah, I think they need to get the agenda, just like we do, and have an open door, whether they need to talk to someone, a mentor on the board,
I
or
think you're
myself, or
willing.
you,
Yeah.
you know, go over some of these questions or concerns. Yeah.
but you
But
have
at
to
the same
remember
time,
that as
have
a
something.
student, they are one voice. They might not be speaking for the entire,
Well, they don't
Well,
vote either.
They don't
Right.
vote, but again, they're one voice, but their purpose of coming here is to be the voice of the students. And that's what that person has to realize. So when they're coming here as a student, they're the voice of the students, meaning that their opinion is one thing, that's fine. But when they're coming here, just like us, you know, we're here for the betterment of the school, not for the better of Tom or my children. I mean, yeah, obviously, that's what I want at the end of the day, is my kids to be successful and have the greatest opportunities. But, and the student has to understand that when they come here, if they're upset because a teacher's picking on them, that's not what we want to hear. You know what I mean? What we
Well,
want to
and-
hear is, as a student, what are the students, they should know that this person's coming to the board, you know, what can they bring to the board? And not just a few of the students, I want to know what's happening. You know, stuff that we don't hear as a board that may be, you know, information, you know, or ideas. And what would they like to see as far as curriculum in the school? You know, education, how, you know, different things. The Chromebooks, if that's good, bad, what are other students talking about? What would they like to see in the school that we don't offer? You know, anything that we can do as a board. That's just my
so
thoughts.
you'd want that student council that he or she should be reaching out to a
Other
lot of other
students,
students.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
that's,
if it was a presentation by a student that raised questions, we
Mhm.
might ask that student to go back to the student council
Absolutely.
and get more student opinions.
Yeah.
If it seems like it's, you know, what percentage.
What did the individual do with the information he got that came before?
They didn't get much information.
Oh,
Kevin? No,
He never
Kev-
reported
No.
back to anybody?
I was just gonna piggyback what Tom said, is that, yes, it would be one student, but right now we have none.
right.
I would love if we had students in the audience, or students come and And we did do a good job there getting reports, but we haven't had any from a student in a long time.
Oh.
I mean,
Kevin graduated in 2013.
But I mean, like, I would love to see elementary kids come in and present, or, you know, I mean, it's good to see the kids sometimes and
So
hear
you're
what's going
talking
on.
about something else, basically.
I know,
Student presentation.
Well, I don't want it to go overboard either, because I honestly, I don't like to just sit and listen to stuff, right, unless it's useful. So, but every now and then, it's good to get that interaction with the kids. I mean, I don't want to have an hour of the meeting be kids presenting to us, right? We want to get our stuff done.
But that could be part of the student's responsibilities. If there is something going on in the elementary school that they could address and bring in
Yeah, I don't know if
as,
they'll
you know,
know
or-
that, but
I
yeah,
don't
we
know.
can try. Yeah.
But again, I just think it would be nice to have a voice of the students here and kind of know what's going on.
When you
Be good
have
for 'em.
opportunity to go through the agenda with the person, maybe we could even adjust the agenda so they don't have to stay the whole night. But if there's some topics
We
that,
usually click our meetings off in a pretty timely fashion, most of the
Yeah.
time, though.
that's
Yeah, well,
true.
because
We've gotten pretty
we
good.
we try to keep them to about an hour.
Yeah.
That's because
not
we
too
meet
bad.
semi-monthly, so when you're meeting twice a month, you can
Right, yeah,
have a
totally.
shorter meeting. A lot of boards go 3 hours.
Some go longer than that.
Yeah.
Well, again,
I will-
I think we need to address it. I think we need to have a student here.
And I
think
would
the
like to
student
make them
needs-
feel like they're part of the
Correct.
board.
And-
They're not a voting member, but I
But-
would like them, to the extent possible, to feel like they're part, rather than just giving up 2 hours of their evening to sit here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not very,
So are you gonna bring it to Ms. Sabota, whoever, Todd?
It's-
and-
Todd will put an announcement in the daily announcements for those people that would like to be considered, so that it's open to anybody. And then they will see which ones have the ability to actually, because it's a commitment to come.
Oh, well,
I'm
then.
sure, lots.
And they need to know that up front, like you said, commitment, what they're gonna be asked for. so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Joe, second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.